I'm trying another method today that is new to me, although certainly not a new method. Numerous other people have done this on YouTube videos. It was an Amy Warden soap challenge a while back, and that's the spin swirl. I'll put a link to several videos below that I've watched that kind of inspired me to try it. So it's my first attempt at it, and we'll see what happens here. This is the recipe I'm going to be using. It is a 68-ounce recipe. I'm using castor oil, coconut oil, lard, sunflower oil, that's high oleic sunflower, and beef tallow. That should make a very slow-moving batter, which is what you want for this method. As usual, I'm adding sugar and sodium lactate to that, and then using blackberry and currant fragrance oil. The colors I plan to use are winter white mica for white, red vibrance for kind of a deep wine red, mimosa yellow, which is a kind of a golden yellow, and then kind of messed with the green to get the shade that I wanted. So it's half Pennsylvania green from TKB, and then a quarter green vibrance and a quarter hydrated chrome green from Nurture Soap and Brambleberry, respectively. These are all totally about a teaspoon of colorant per color. And then ultramarine blue for a deep bright blue, and black pearl for black. And then, as I said, I'm using blackberry and currant fragrance oil from Elements Bath and Body. I think I've used that once before because my bottle's not quite full, but I don't remember much about what I used it in or how it turned out. Their website says it does not accelerate, does not discolor. So I'm hoping that's the case. My oils are at 103 Fahrenheit. My lye water is at 109, so I think that's good. I have my colorants already hydrated with a little bit of water. The one that can cause some, I wouldn't call it a problem, but a challenge is the winter white, which if you let it sit for a while sinks to the bottom and just kind of sticks there. So I'll have to scratch that off the surface before I put the batter in. This raspberry and currant, blackberry and currant fragrance oil is not supposed to accelerate at all, but I'm not going to put it in until later anyway, just to be sure. So I think I'm ready to mix these. Because this should be such a slow-moving recipe, this is going to take a while probably to whisk it. So, as I often do, I'll either fast forward or edit those parts out. And in this case, I just want to get this to emulsion and separate it because I want it to stay quite thin when I pour it. In fact, that's going to be pretty well emulsified right there. So let me stir up my white here. I'm going to go for approximately equal amounts of all the colors. Now, I will hand whisk these to very light trace, if trace at all, but I want them to be permanently emulsified anyway. And then I'll pour them. So I'll get the camera moved over right now. I have the mold sitting on a Lazy Susan so I can spin it I'm going to pour into the four corners as well as into the center, and then we'll swirl it from there. For contrast, I'm going to pour these in this order: red, green, black, yellow, blue, white. But I'm not going to do every corner in the same order within that. So I'll start out with a couple red corners. If you're pouring into a corner with a really thin batter and you don't want it to mix with the previous color, if you can get the soap to actually touch the side of the mold as it runs down, that tends to prevent mixing. Sometimes it's a little hard to get that started, but then you get a much cleaner pour. Try not to touch the bottom of the pitcher to the soap batter. That's a little bit of a challenge here. Try to notice where I've not poured a color lately. So for example, that corner needs yellow now. That one's going to need red. need to use up some of this blue. I've got a lot of it left, so I'll pour some of it into every area. I think I'll use up these colors at this point. I guess anywhere is really lacking red, I'll just finish it up with a little bit of it in a bunch of places. And we can use some green in several places. Now, the idea here is to spin this and then make it stop suddenly in kind of a jerk. And that causes it to deform into an interesting pattern. And change the direction. I'm going to call that done. If you, from what I've seen in other videos, if you swirl it too much, you get too much muddy look on the outside, trying to get that center to blend. So I'm going to stop at that point. I think I like that. This is the Brambleberry 18 bar mold that has the plastic bar dividers, but I'm not going to use those today because I want the sides of the soap to show the natural striping of the way it was poured. That means I'm going to have to cut those bars in a different way from what I normally would, but I think that's okay. So as I always do, I will spray this with some alcohol. I'll insulate it. I'll put it in a warm oven at 55 degrees Celsius for a couple hours to let it gel, and we'll have a look at it tomorrow. So here it is, still just freshly poured before it's cured at all. It is the next day, and I have unmolded and cut the soap into 18 bars. So these are the tops. I have shaved a little bit off of them. Some of them really show the spin swirl nicely, and others kind of don't. But I'm not really unhappy with any of them. I think for a first try, it's pretty good. I'm sure I can improve on this later. So that may be the most spin-looking one. I like that. These are bottom sides. That first one is exactly as it came out of the mold, and then these others I've shaved a little bit off of them. And then these are sides. And these are ends. I like that one quite a lot. So here's a view of several of what I would say are some of the nicer looking tops. I'm reasonably pleased with those. I'm sure I can improve on them in the next batch, but I think that's not bad.